Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review Goosebumps Season 2, Episode 7, Welcome to Camp Nightmare. And I know that you guys probably think that yesterday I didn't do a review just because I was so pissed off at the last two, but it's really what happened was I just ran out of time. I was doing stuff all day and I was trying to be productive and get a lot of stuff done, and I was doing this thing where I put a bunch of different tasks that I needed to do on this random wheel to side, and then I just spun the wheel all day long basically. And, so by the evening, I really didn't have time to watch much of anything, but really I probably did, because this was a short episode, and combining that with next episode probably wouldn't have been that bad. But I assumed that since these are the last two episodes, that they would be lengthy, and as we've learned about this season, there's a lot of letdowns this season, and this episode was nothing short of a letdown based on the title. And you know what the big problem is with the titles is that you look at these titles and you think, wow, I can't wait to see what they do with Welcome to Camp Nightmare. I can't wait to see what they do with Monster Blood. Wow. And then you get to the episode and it's like, what is this? And at that point, you just resent it more and more and more. And I know that you're thinking, well, Marco, you should be used to that by now with this show. And it's like, no, I'm not used to it, because it's stupid. You can't get used to stupidity. If you're like, I had this study hall class with this guy back in the 8th grade. He was sitting with me all the way in the back, and the teachers were all the way in the other side of the room, so they never really saw anything that he did, and they actually liked him anyway. He was one of those jocks who was really likable to everyone, even though typically the stereotype is that they're all a bunch of jackasses. Oh shit. But he would do stupid shit all the time, and it would never stop surprising me how stupid he was. There was this one day where he took a pencil and he broke it on his forehead. And then he took two pencils and broke them on his forehead, and he kept on taking pencils out of his own pencil box and breaking them on his head. So I thought, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this guy. I'm gonna do it too, because I want to show him how stupid he looks. So I started breaking pencils on my head, and before you know it, we had a pencil breaking contest on our foreheads. And I can't remember what happened as a result of that. We didn't get in trouble at all. They didn't even know we did it. But it was just stupid. And I was just, even after that day, he was still doing stupid stuff. And I never got used to that. I never got used to sitting next to this dipshit who would just say and do the dumbest shit ever. So with this show, why should I get used to them being this is Welcome to Camp Nightmare, and then the episode has nothing to do with Camp Nightmare? Because the writers they could say, well, technically it does, because technically the area is called Camp Nightmare because of our little backstory that we set up. And I guarantee, by the way, if they knew the backlash they were going to get to season 1, that they would have done the same thing with Horrorland. You know, the big controversy where people were like, why did you call this finale Welcome to Horrorland if Horrorland isn't even in it? I guarantee they would have called the town Horrorland in some way. they would have had some joke at the beginning of the season where a teenager's like, oh, I can't wait to go to college so that I can get out of Horrorland. You know what I'm saying? Gen Z friend? That's the dialogue they would have had to explain that it was Horrorland in the first season. And they did the same kind of thing this season. Like, this whole fort, there was like a government testing lab here. And so we get, basically the episode starts off with a quote-unquote summer camp in the 60s. This is the Camp Nightmare. And it's literally just the kids walking to the roof of this fort, and then they all get pulled off and killed. But the kids get pulled off camera because the show is it's a weak show. Let's just say that. And also, I think it's hilarious because, R.L. Stine, he's really, like, even though he's probably going to say this show is really good, he's going to be like, hey, I'm R.L. Stine, and I've come out of my cave to say that the show is really good, wink, wink. Even though he's probably going to say that, I think the ironic thing is I took his master class on writing, because R.L. Stine's always been like one of my biggest, if not my biggest inspiration when it comes to writing. And he said that he never kills kids in Goosebumps. Kids are off limits. And it was a bold-faced lie, because he's killed kids in his Goosebumps books. And in this show, they killed off this entire camp of kids. They all got pulled off the roof after the camp counselor did, I believe. And so, there you go. You have more and more kids who got killed. And R.L. Stine said that in his masterclass. Oh, kids are never killed in Goosebumps. You know what else isn't in this season, by the way? R.L. Stine. Remember last season how he had a cameo in the show? Well, the showrunners, they were like, you know what? This really isn't Goosebumps anyway, so we're not going to have R.L. Stine in the second season at all. Imagine that, guys. He was in the 90s show for a couple episodes at the beginning and end. Oh, God, I almost broke my glasses. I have had these glasses since 2014, by the way. Like, when I release my movie and I make money off of it, like, new glasses are going to be the very first thing that I get. Because these are fucking broken as hell. But, he was in the old Goosebumps show. He was in both movies. Even though people don't like the second movie, even though it was way better, because it was like a Slappy World book come to life, whereas the first one wasn't like any Goosebumps book at all. He was in both of those, and he was in the first season, but he's not in the second season. I think that that's very telling. Like, you couldn't have at least had him be in this season somewhere, like really? Like, it's another thing, it's another thing. So anyway, first let's talk about some of the things the kids discover. They discover that the fake doctor was actually a children's doctor, which is like another like dig against Joe Jr., aka Trey, because it's like a real doctor, or like, a grown-up doctor didn't treat him, a children's doctor did. A pediatrician. Not even like a regular one, but a pediatric dermatologist. It's like they are going out of their way to make him look like an idiot. And then, if that wasn't enough, they go back and look at the security footage of in the hospital room to see to get an image of the fake doctor, to confirm something that we already knew from like episodes and episodes ago. And Trey has to witness Devin hitting on his girlfriend while he was in a coma again on security camera footage. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They really went out of their way to humiliate this guy. It's really funny. And it's too bad, too, because he seems like a really, like, likable actor. So it's too bad that, like, they really just shit on his character and just made... First, they made him, like, a piece of shit, and then they just shit on him for the rest of the season. Now, After this, we get some more, like, basically bland scenes with the teenagers running around. They split off into groups. It's really lame and just kind of, like, bland. Nothing really happens of note. They just kind of discover some information and, to go discover more information, it's nothing. But the kids are in the library. And they discover a book that was written by the dad of the fake doctor. And Cece says that she thinks he's hot. At this point, Alex, the criminal lesbian who basically shouldn't be on the show because she has no purpose at all. In fact, I think the only purpose that she serves is to track the kid's location, like, as a group, so that the detective can come and save them. That's literally the only thing that I can see of, like, a purpose that she is serving as a character. And even then, you could have just given that to CJ or to Frankie even, or Trey. I mean, especially Trey, because he was already a bully and a criminal. It would have been much more believable with him. But, and also, by the way, Alex labels herself a criminal in this episode. So this is another time she has done that after she complained about her mom seeing her as a criminal in that other episode. But after Alex looks at Cece with disdain, Cece says, sexuality is a spectrum. So here we have another disgusting, dumb shit agenda line in Goosebumps. It's like, that's what we got in season 2 of Goosebumps. We got lesbians and sexuality as a spectrum. That's what we got, instead of getting adaptations of the books like we asked for. So just thought you guys should know that. That was really, really like, ugh. But honestly, I'm not surprised anymore. I'm just kind of upset and grossed out. And just, I did a poll too. I put out a poll that said, should Goosebumps fans just make our own show? And literally everyone voted yes. Every single person who voted. That is really, really telling about the state of Goosebumps right now. Because a couple of years ago, a year ago, I never would have even considered the idea of, like, making a Goosebumps show, like, as a fan, like a fan show. But now, I really, really feel like, as a Goosebumps fan, like, we deserve better. Like, I feel like it would have been so cool to start off 2025 by, like, seeing, like, a handful of, like, faithful adaptations of the books, but maybe with some twists in them too. I feel like that would have been so cool and such a great way to start this year, rather than lesbians and sexuality as a spectrum and fires in California. Like, that's how our 2025 has started. So then the rest of this episode is actually very repetitive, because it's basically a copy of last episode where the kids go to a location and then they learn a bunch of information and backstory for the whole 30 minutes left in the episode. So in this case, they go to Camp Nightmare and they discover all these notes from the fake doctor. And basically the backstory is there was a government testing facility and they were testing this alien spaceship, and there were these people who worked on it, but then it turned out like they needed to kill the aliens or something, or destroy them, or I don't know, like it was some dumb thing. Like, I kind of just zoned off and didn't really pay attention because it was so bland and generic. It just felt like it could have been a Full Moon Pictures movie, a Full Moon Features movie. It felt like it could have been a Creepazoids, if you guys remember that movie that we reviewed last year. So that's basically like the entirety of the episode, is this boring, bland sci-fi story that is literally just probably one of the worst sci-fi stories I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so boring. It was such a mediocre story. It literally was just like fill in the blank, like been there, done that. And not even like in a fun way. Like, you know, when R.L. Stine, when he writes a bad book, a lot of the times, he has fun with what he's writing. You know, like Monster Blood 4, like that book is hilarious. And you could tell he had so much fun writing that and making like what was like a 60s sci-fi tribute. They could have done the same thing with this episode right here. But instead, and I don't know why someone printed out something while I was in the middle of doing a review, by the way. I apologize about that. Yeah, sorry. I can never plan these reviews at the best times, you know. I try to do them, and yeah. It'd be funny if it just kept on printing out the rest of the review, and I could never, yeah. Might as well just buy, like, a million, like, new things of paper, too, because, like, that was just, like, all the paper in the printer for some reason. So, anyways, it wasn't Safi, by the way. She's watching TV as well. Oh, now it's going again. See, this is basically, like, the story of watching this episode. Is like, oh, I really wish I could watch Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Oh, no, Marco, sorry. You're going to have to watch this piece of shit generic sci-fi story about this girl boss. It's the origin of the Dr. Girl Boss. And it just... by the end of the episode, it's weird because it's like the narrative is now... It's changed from Devin being the main character and his father into this fake doctor, and then Cece are like the main characters. And they're both like girl bosses who are teaming up with each other. And it's really, really cringeworthy. It's really stupid. It's just, it's the worst. It just... You know the thought that I had, too, while watching it? I thought, the reason... Now, here's the thing. Why is it called Goosebumps? I can tell you why it's called Goosebumps, this show. Because if they didn't have Goosebumps on the title, nobody would have watched this shit. Nobody. Nobody would have watched this generic sci-fi story about this government testing facility in the 60s with this girl boss who's like, no, Dad, you're wrong, and me. And then it just kills everyone in the black goo. She's containing the black goo, and she's done it for all these years, and it's just like, who cares? I want to watch Goosebumps. I wanted to watch Welcome to Camp Nightmare. I don't give a flying fuck about the stupid black goo in the fucking government lab and this fucking biatch character. This new character. Nobody cares about this character. So I would give this episode an F again. I mean, what the fuck was even this episode? It was basically just a backstory episode. And guess what, guys? There's one episode left. And the last episode, it doesn't even have a title. That's just how much the writers gave up on it. The writers for this show, they are giant panty waists. And this show is a giant panty waist. Okay? This show is the biggest panty waist I've ever seen. And that's saying something, because I've seen a lot of panty waists. Especially nowadays. Movies and TV shows. This show takes the cake. I don't know what they were thinking. Calling this episode Welcome to Camp Nightmare. You have no right to call it that. There's nothing in this episode that has to do with Camp Nightmare. And this is how sinister it is, too. They start off the episode... No, before the episode, they tease. They tease you and say, there was a summer camp with kids in that area in the 60s. They tease you because they know that fans of that story are going to think, ooh, I can't wait to see the Camp Nightmare story. And then, when it gets to the Camp Nightmare episode, which they titled on purpose to bait the fans, they start off the episode with like a 5-minute thing of these kids at this camp on purpose to bait you into thinking that's what the episode is going to be about. So, yeah, fuck this show. Be back for part 2, or the finale. Hey everybody, it's Safi and Mark. Oh wait, I already did that. Ooh! I just finished the Goosebumps Season 2 finale. Now, this episode didn't have a title. They couldn't have at least come up with their own title, because the writers of the show, they don't have any of their own ideas. They like to take other people's. So, let's get into this fucking terrible episode. This was a terrible, terrible finale. It had so many inconsistencies. It was just a string of things happening, and then they get undone. Very anticlimactic. They even say in the episode, oh, this is really anticlimactic, and then it happens anyway. Yeah, this was bad. It wasn't as bad as last season's finale, but it was really, really bad. And for a reason that is a lot different than you could imagine. So, first the teens go into the test site to save their dad, and they save him within the first 3 minutes of the episode. And the big thing is that they have to flee from the big villain of the season, which is a giant CGI black goo spaceship. So basically, this whole season literally could be tied into Venom from Marvel. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like Venom. Feels like Venom 4 Goosebumps edition. And, yeah, the big villain of this season is a giant CGI spaceship. And it comes to life and it kills you. So, the fake doctor, she's supposedly a good guy. She's like a girl boss good guy, but not anymore for some reason. She just kind of turns back and forth for the convenience of the plot. She locks the kids down in the basement, I guess you could call it, the test site. She locks them down there for no reason at all. You'd think it was because she's like trying to protect the world from the goo. And there's honestly so many layers to this decision making that needs to be studied, because you're thinking, like, in reality, she admitted before she sent them down there, the only way to get somebody out of a pod and to get them back into being a human is by injecting them with the serum that her father started and she perfected, I think. I can't remember. So she actually went down into the basement before, and she defeated that monster that killed Hannah, or put Hannah in a pod. And God, the more and more I think about it, the more and more it pisses me off, like all the little plot holes and things. Okay, because then there's another thing we'll need to talk about with Hannah later on. I feel bad for Hannah, man. Hannah was done dirty. Hannah and fucking Maddie, they were done dirty in this show. Let's just say that. But she admitted that, like, she's been down there a million times and she defeated the monster all by herself. But for some reason, she thinks that, like, oh, okay, them saving their dad, that's a little too far. That's a little too dangerous. Let's lock them down there forever so that she can bring more attention. So that she can bring more attention to this area. So, because, like, maybe an actual investigation could happen, because that's another kind of big plot hole if you think about it too. Like, there was no investigation into those kids' disappearance, into this area, into this whole testing site. Like, it is just so bizarre, the gaps in logic and the gaps in reasoning that these writers took so that they could tell this string of plot conveniences and string of stupid shit, basically. So if you're following any of this, which I'm, if you are, You deserve a cookie. And I actually do have cookies because we have been eating homemade chocolate chip cookies for dessert now at our household, and I have actually made a new batch just yesterday, and so if you're able to follow it, I'm giving you a cookie right now, but I'm going to eat them all, so you can't have it actually, so suck on that. So anyways, yeah, somebody just commented on my video I made about it on Instagram, and they said, wow, yeah, I know, this is crazy, because as soon as I tell you guys what happened with this episode, it is gonna blow your mind. So, okay, let's see. Yeah, they're locked down there for no reason other than there needs to be a plot that happens. Because, like, yeah, she's been down there a million times. She's got the serum that could stop any of these monsters. And the way that they figure out a plan within, like, an hour to disable the ship, turn off the power, and escape the hatch. So it took these people who aren't scientists at all, like, 5 minutes to come up with this plan. And it works pretty perfectly. There's almost nothing bad that happens, except for they try to do the fake out thing in movies and shows where someone has to stay behind to do something while the other people escape. And in this scenario, it is Anthony. He volunteers to go out there and disable the ship and turn off the power so that they can all escape. And he's got to stay behind because something happens or something. It's stupid. You know that he's going to be okay because he's Ross from Friends. And then he comes out, but he comes out at the very last second. And now here's the thing. Earlier on, they said that people can only get out of the pods if they have been injected with this serum. And yet, they only have one dose of that serum. They gave it to Anthony. All of a sudden, Anthony brings up all the other people that were in the pods. All the other people. All those teenagers. Hannah, his brother, all those people up there. After saying that they couldn't do that. So, I don't know. I guess these fucking writers, they just do what they want to do. And, yeah, he magically saves them all. The doctor, the fake doctor, she just ran off. She's nowhere in sight. She just disappeared. Who knows what happened with her? She doesn't show up until later on when it's convenient. So, yeah, she's just gone. She's not making sure that they're locked down there. She didn't think that, oh, maybe they could think of that easy way to get out of the hatch and escape by just disabling the power so that the hatch opens. Now, here's the part where I get really pissed off, if you guys can believe that. So, I know that a lot of people on this channel probably haven't seen my older videos on Goosebumps, because I've been doing videos on Goosebumps since, I think, like 2021 or so. Yeah, I think about 2021. And one of the first videos that I made was actually like a fan pitch video, and it was a sequel pitch to Cuckoo Clock of Doom. It was posted in December of 2021, and it only has 15 views. And the video, at the end of the pitch, basically, if you guys, I hope you guys, if you're watching this video, you have seen Cuckoo Clock of Doom before. You know the story of Cuckoo Clock of Doom. If you don't, for any reason, I will tell you, at the end of that story, Daniel's sister Tara is completely gone. She has disappeared from everywhere because he knocked off the year 1988, which was the year that she was born. So at the end of the story, he's like, oh, maybe someday I'll go and save my sister. So I came up with this pitch, which I think I'm going to private all those pitches because I think that I need to now because these fucking writers suck and they can't write unless they steal from other people who are better writers. So I came up with this idea where in the ending of the pitch, the big twist would have been Daniel is an old man, finally gets his sister back. His sister Tara, she's like 9 years old. And so the twist is that now he's this old man, he's about to die, and he's got to take care of his 9-year-old sister. And it would have been like such a haunting ending because she was basically the villain of that story. So it would have been like this like haunting thing of like, oh, I got my sister back. I got everything I wished for, but it's going to be hell because she's a troublemaker. She was really evil, actually. She was beyond just being a troublemaker. She was evil. And so I felt like that was like a really cool ending. Like he's an old man and then he gets his little sister back and then it would end and the Goosebumps theme would play and everything. Well, the writers of this season, I don't know for sure, but I think that it's one hell of a coincidence. I think that it is so bizarre. It's I don't know what's real anymore, guys. Like, I don't know what's happening here. These fucking writers can't write, and so they steal my ideas. Like, I mean, just imagine if these... Okay, so Anthony, he's an older man now. He's in his 50s or 60s. I think he's 40s, 50s. I don't know. 50s? I mean, he looks great for his age. He looks really, really good, Ross from Friends. And he didn't have anything to do with stealing my idea. These fucking writers had to do with it. So the idea is that, now Anthony, he's got his brother. He's got his brother who's now a kid. And all the other kids. And so he got what he wanted. And so these fucking writers stole that idea. Except it's kind of in reverse because Maddie was Anthony's older brother. So now it's like a thing where like, oh, now the younger brother is older than the older brother. It's just... But I was so flabbergasted and so shocked that they would steal that. I mean, are you serious? Because, like, I swear, like, that can't just be a coincidence. Like, that's insane. That's insane. And if it isn't a coincidence, you guys have to keep in mind, these writers are so strapped for ideas that they went on YouTube to 3 years ago. It would have been, I think, 3 years ago when they wrote it. 3 years ago to find an idea from a Goosebumps fan video with 15 views. Like, are you... That can't be real. That can't be real, guys. Like, why would they do... And the worst part is, like, they knew that I would watch this, too, because they knew I would review it. So that they have no shame. And so you have to think that was like a giant middle finger to me, personally. And I'm not like, I swear, like, I can't be the only one who thinks this. I mean, it's too much, guys. Like, and so I think, you know what? I think I should be making Goosebumps. Honestly, like, if these fucking writers are stealing my ideas from my fucking 15 view sequel pitch YouTube videos that like I made like years ago for fun, like, I think that I should be the one making Goosebumps, to be quite honest. And I think after that poll, I think I'm gonna have to, because these writers suck. The people who made the show suck. And they just suck. They just suck so bad. They took my idea and they didn't even do it right. Because, like, at first I was like, wait, like, it's too bad that, like, they didn't stick with this, because even though they stole it from me, which even though I don't own the rights to that idea in that video, and I don't own the rights to Goosebumps, they still stole my idea. It shows that they have no sort of integrity as artists and writers. They have no sort of shame, no sense of shame, if they stole that idea from a pitch video from 2021. It's just too bad, though, because, like, they ruined the idea, too. Because then after all these people are back, and it's really eerie and haunting, and it's like, oh, like, it's too bad you did. All they had to do, by the way, was literally just ask me, like, say, hey, like, you know, we saw your YouTube videos. We really liked those certain ideas. Would you mind if we use those? And I would have been like, yeah, sure. Do whatever you want. Like, but thank you for asking me, but they didn't. They didn't even ask me. Like, are you... Like, it's just insane what these fucking writers in Hollywood think that they can get away with nowadays. It is absolutely insane. So, what ends up happening is Anthony and Jen confront the fake doctor, and at this point, we find out that she brought her dad back to life somehow, too. Because she's like, I can't do it alone anymore. I need my dad to help me because I'm such a strong, independent woman. So she brought him back to life. And then he said, you dumb bitch, you failed. And then he turns into a monster. And then they kill him immediately after he kills her. So that was really anticlimactic. So this means, this is a stupid idea because this means that everyone who was ever in a pod is going to turn into a monster. And it doesn't dawn upon Anthony and Jen that this is the reality. They think that for some reason it's only going to happen to the teenagers who Anthony just revived. So for some reason, I guess Trey and Anthony, even though they were in pods too, they're not going to turn into goo monsters because plot conveniences. So yeah, these writers suck because they pick and choose what they want to do and what they don't want to do. Just like they picked and chose my idea from my fucking video. Fuck these writers. So what did they end up doing, guys? Anthony and Jen released the spaceship. That's all they had to do. They just send the spaceship back up into the sky. And then the spaceship sucks up the other monsters. And then the spaceship just explodes in the sky for no reason at all. I mean, it's just the stupidest fucking sci-fi story I've ever seen. It's just so bad. It's so fucking bad. They could have done that this whole time. They could have done that for 30 years. 30 years that this strong, independent girl boss scientist, she could have just released the spaceship. She could have done that. It's so dumb. I hate it. I hate this fucking show. And then, to top the shit cake with the shit icing, Anthony gets to see the ghost of his dead brother and the ghosts of everyone else. And it's like, yeah, fuck you, bye. And it's really funny, by the way, because, and now there were a couple of things that I did like, even though I don't want to give the show anything now. I don't want to give it any credit at all, because they didn't give me any credit for my idea. So Anthony's brother, he kind of acts like, almost like sarcastic, like, you know, like, we're going to be okay. And it's like, yeah, fuck you, because they just got to come back to life, and then they got turned into monsters and had to die. Like, that was a terrible ending for all of them. Like, they were in pods for 30 years, suffering, and then they come back, and it's like, oh, you get to have your life back. And then it's like, no, fuck you. Like, so I like that the actor who played the brother he kind of played it off in like a sarcastic way where he was like, yeah, we're going to be okay. And then they all walk away. But just this show was this was the biggest fuck you, this fucking show. I fucking hate it. So at the end, then we see everything wrap up. And oh yeah, by the way, Hannah. Ugh. God, I can't believe what they did to Hannah, man. I don't understand Hannah as a character. What the fuck was that character, man? Because now they're doing revisionist history. Frankie, in the last episode, says that Hannah put Devin under a trance. I don't see there is no evidence of him being put under a trance anywhere at all. Like, that's basically like the writers, in hindsight, realizing that whole story was stupid, and they gotta find some excuse for Devin to be so into her. You know, for him to be so, like, interested in, like, following her and then not talking on his phone to his friends. But it was never stated or made clear that he was under a trance. And how would Hannah, as a ghost, be able to put him under a trance? So here's another fuck you. Okay, Devin stated in this episode early on, he thinks that Hannah is still alive somehow. He says, it's really weird. I think even though she's dead, she's still alive, which is kind of like isn't that what they call an oxymoron? So, the thing is that, like, if they had stuck with the teenagers coming back to life for good after they were taken out of the pods, then that theory would have made sense, and it would have been like, oh, she wasn't like a real ghost. She was just like a manifestation. Like, I still don't know. I still don't get it. None of the other teenagers came back as ghosts. None of the other teenagers came back as ghosts to, like, get people to come there to commit suicide. So why was it just Hannah? It doesn't make any sense at all. But then you have that thing with, like, Hannah's still alive, but apparently she wasn't, because if you get released from the pod, you get killed by turning into a goo monster. It just, these writers, they just have no clue. They have no clue. They don't know what to do. They suck. This show sucked. This story sucked. And everything just fucking sucks in Goosebumps. If R.L. Stine says this show is a good show, he is saying a show is a good show where they stole a fan's idea from a random YouTube video from 2021. Keep that in mind, guys. A random fan. I'm a nobody. I'm not a somebody. I'm not like some infamous figure on YouTube or anything. I'm just me. And they stole my idea. Like, what the hell is up with that? It's insane. So Cece, let's wrap it up, guys. Let's wrap up the stupid ending to this shitty season, okay? Cece is leaving Alex to go to college, so once again cementing the fact that Alex was a totally huge waste of a character. Because I mean, come on, guys. I mean, what was the whole point of that relationship? Like, Cece isn't even a lesbian. She's bisexual or something, or she just doesn't want to be anything because she's a weirdo. And so, like, she didn't even need to be with Alex, and now Alex and her aren't even going to be together. It's just like, what were they thinking? It just, all they wanted to do was fill in a checkbox. Fill in a quota, fill in a checkbox, and that's exactly what they fucking did. But Devin is not leaving New York, and he is also now dating Frankie officially. And guess what, guys? CJ magically got his delivery job back after last episode where he stated that his mom got a new delivery driver, and he also became manager out of nowhere and for no reason. Wow! Wow! This show ended on such a good note. Wow! No, actually, the show ends with a big fuck you twist that basically confirms, number one, this whole finale was for nothing. Number two, the writers realized at the very end that my logic was what they should have gone with, because, like, at the very end, Trey, aka Joe Jr., throws up black goo, that means that he is going to turn into a pod monster, which who knows why he didn't turn into one faster. Like, what are the rules of, like, how long does it take? Like, it was so convenient for the plot that, like, people turned into pod monsters when they did, and the fact that Anthony, he couldn't even figure out that maybe he would turn into one too. It blows my fucking mind. But keep in mind, guys, this also implies that Anthony is going to turn into a pod monster as well. So this whole finale was for nothing. They saved their father for nothing. Trey Joe Jr. came back for nothing. It was all for nothing. And, this whole finale was a waste. This whole season was a waste. And, yeah, I don't know what to say, except I give this episode an F. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know why they thought that they could steal my idea so blatantly. And it's sad, too, because, I mean, I thought, like, if they had gone with that, and this is what I would have done if I were the writers. I would have stuck with that twist of the teenagers all come back. And then turn it into more of like a Twilight Zone kind of drama. Because after all of those stupid human drama moments throughout the season that weren't needed and weren't necessary, this was like the one part of the show where it was necessary and where you could have had something there. And so I would have just ditched the monster stuff, and I would have ditched all that crap that they did in the second half and just had the rest of the episode just be like the Twilight Zone. Like, what if, like, this actually happened and, like, those people are now alive? Like, that would be really, really interesting. And it's too bad that they didn't do that, though. But, yeah, it would have sucked anyway, because these writers don't know how to write. I mean, if you're stealing ideas from a random YouTuber with 664 subscribers or 65, you've got problems, man. You got big problems. Yeah, so this season was a big FU. It's really kind of sad because I feel like they had all the right ingredients, and I just have this sad feeling now. I have a sad feeling, like, number one is a Goosebumps fan, because I feel like it's sad that this is how bad Goosebumps, the franchise, has gotten. It's really sad. It's like, we should be getting... It's not that hard, guys. It's not hard to make a Goosebumps show. We should be getting, like, a good Goosebumps show. And I'm also sad because look how long this show lasted. It lasted for, like, a week or less. And now we're all going to forget about it because we'll move on to the next thing, because they released all the episodes at once, and it was only 8 episodes. So it feels like a bad hangover at the end of this bad season. Like, I'm so embarrassed for the people that made this show, and they really wasted these actors. I loved all the actors that they got. I think that my favorite was actually, of the kids, besides Hannah, she was the best actor in terms of acting, but CJ. I thought that CJ was really underutilized, and they just kind of made him into a joke after his, like, one episode. And, yeah, I don't know. That's a big disappointment. That wasn't good. And by the way, like, how many times throughout the season did they repeat the line, this isn't good? They repeated that line so many times this season, you could take a shot every time they did and get alcohol poisoning. And I would also like to say, too, whatever happened to Murph? You know, the bad kid who Alex just had to get to admit that he started the fire, and Murph started the fire! Yeah. But, like, that was such an important mission for her, and it never got accomplished. And then, since her episode was over, she just forgot about it. And you know what I'm thinking? If I'm the writer of Goosebumps season 2, I'm thinking, okay, so there's 2 bullies on the show. You got Joe Jr., Junior Trey, and you got Murph. Why, if Trey has reformed and he is now like a good guy, then you need a new bully. And so why don't you turn Murph into the new bully and have him be like one of the villains of the season? Because then it would be like you're connecting everything together more. And it makes more sense, but like Murph is just nowhere. I mean, what happened to Murph? He crashed into a thing. He wasn't dead. He was sitting there like, what the fuck is happening right now? And then he's just gone. Like, how does that make sense? How does that make sense, guys, that he wouldn't go to Alex to figure out what happened to you, man? What happened to that car, too? Nothing in this show makes sense. Nothing. It's just all, I don't know, man. Maybe there's another fan who made a video that they stole that idea from. Who knows? So, I didn't expect to be making this video. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. But, truth is stranger than fiction. And so maybe they didn't actually steal my idea, and it's just a complete coincidence. It's just a complete coincidence. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not going to give these writers the benefit of the doubt. No way. So please like this video and comment. What did you think of this terrible, abysmal season? Shout out to the cast, because they deserve better. They deserve, like, all of them deserve their own Goosebumps. And by the way, like, Frankie didn't even get her own Goosebumps show. She didn't even get her own story where she was she had like a character study and shit. Like, she didn't have anything. So, yeah. Yeah. And Devin kind of petered out, too. Devin's character, he didn't really have his own Goosebumps character either. Character episode. Yeah. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest videos about Goosebumps and honest reviews. Because I will keep it honest. And honestly, maybe after a few days, because maybe people do want to go back and watch that Cuckoo Clock of Doom video so that they can see for confirmation that that idea was stolen. I am going to be privating all those videos, because I don't want these bad writers to be stealing these ideas. Like, I don't know. I just don't think that that's like a good thing for writers to do, is like steal ideas from fans. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.